Okay, so I think that we have a few different tentacles here.
A few different paths to explore.
We have a few different tentacles to grab at things out there in the market. Like a couple of Ursulas.
If it counts for anything, I got that Little Mermaid reference as a fellow father. Hey, everybody, welcome to Prompt and Circumstance. My name's David.
And I'm Elon.
And today we are going to be doing part 2 of Vibe Discovery.
On today's episode, we're going to talk about a pivot that we made, and then how do we use AI to accelerate that process of discovery. And then we're going to take you through an example where we're going to show you how you can hone in your hypotheses and the experiments to run in just a few minutes with AI tools.
I like that we are pivoting early because, you think about other successful companies, they pivoted too, right? I mean, Slack took, 2-3 years to pivot?
That's right.
Yeah, we beat them by an order of magnitude or so. Yeah.
2-3 days. That's it.
Yeah.
That's right. We're definitely the next unicorn over here.
Yep.
What I'm thinking, David, is that we open up a document and just start noting down our hypotheses. And let's try to come up with a decent list. Let's say like 8 to 10 hypotheses that we want to test. They don't have to be good.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to be well formulated. They just need to be, jot notes off the top of your head. And we're going to use AI to turn those into some decent hypotheses. Since we're talking about product discovery, let's tell you about one of our favorite tools to use in this process, Querio. Querio is an AI agent which sits on top of your data stack and allows you to ask natural language questions to pull out data insights. It's the perfect tool if you're looking to understand market segments and user data, as well as trends within your product. Click on the link in our show notes to try it today and let them know that David and Elon sent you for 2 months free. That is a $1,200 value for our listeners.
All right. So what we're going to do is create this document and just put together our thoughts on what the problem is, some how might we's, if you follow the design thinking principles, and put together some hypotheses for us to then go out and test. And so this has just been hand typed out. All right. So at the top right, for those who use the Google Pro, there's this Gemini option here. And what that lets you do is use AI right directly in your document. So what I'm going to do is select this problem statement and say something like, split this into 2 problem statements from the perspective of a principal product manager. Be succinct. Okay. So as we had discussed, there's sort of 2 distinct problems here, right? There's one about analyzing the data, and the other is about presenting insights.
That's right.
So here's what it generated. It's not bad. So let's go ahead and click the insert. Boom.
All right. So what we got from Gemini was users struggle to quickly derive valuable insights from raw data extracts without dedicated BI tools. And then the other is users lack effective ways to visualize and present findings from their data analysis in common extract formats like Google Sheets. I would say that this is a good summary of the 2 user types that we talked about and the problems that they're facing.
Do we want to get a little bit more specific on what we mean by users?
I think no, because we're not sure yet. I think that's part of our hypothesis generation is which users are the ones who have struggles. I think that's one of the hypotheses that we need to validate in our discovery. So we're going to generate some hypotheses here, and these are top of head, not supposed to be great, and we're going to use AI to help us refine these and make these hypotheses that can be experimented on. David, what do you got?
How about, so users are dissatisfied with the current data analysis solutions.
All right. I have a hypothesis that small business owners, especially in e-commerce, struggle to manage their data analysis given the tools that they have.
Okay. All right. So managers of teams who need to present to leadership are unhappy with how they are currently unable to make something nice and professional. So I'm deliberately being a little bit chunky with the words to see what AI is going to do with this.
On the other side, all right. So I said individual contributors who need to make their cases to management are unhappy with how they are unable to make compelling data-driven arguments through visualization.
Great. And so I'd like to now get to the willingness to pay hypothesis. All right. So the first one would be the pain experienced by the personas above is significant enough that they are willing to pay for a solution. And I'd like to add a little bit to that as well. So the second one is the personas above have the means to pay for a solution. The thinking is that you might want to pay for a solution, but then you don't have maybe the money to do so.
Makes sense. All right. I think that we're in a pretty good place here, David. All right. So we're in Claude. We're giving Claude a prompt. We're telling it that it is a number of product influencers, and it's going to review the problem statement and hypotheses from a product team. And it's going to help critique these hypotheses and suggest a better formulation to lead to the ability to prove or disprove using experimentation. And I'm just going to slam all of our information that we came up with inside, and let's see what it comes up with.
That is quite the chimera, by the way, that you've created. Where it's the mashing up of all of these product influencers.
You know, with all of those people, we should be able to get something decent, right? Imagine if we had them all in a room critiquing our hypotheses. All right, so it's come up with an improved hypothesis framework. It told us, by the way, we had lack of specificity and measurability. We had undefined user segments, and we had missing outcome metrics, all three of which are very true.
Very true.
And what I was expecting to hear out of this. First is user segment hypotheses. The first one is e-commerce business owners with 10 to 50 employees who currently spend 4+ hours weekly managing sales data in Google Sheets will engage with an automated insight generation tool at least 3 times per week. The second one is marketing managers at SaaS companies who present monthly performance reports to executives will adopt a visualization tool that reduces their report preparation time by 50%.
Great. Yeah. And that's the user segmentation hypotheses. And then there's the value proposition hypotheses, which is the first one being when presented with automatically generated insights that highlights their top 3 revenue drivers, e-commerce users will rate the tool's value as 8+ out of 10 within their first week of use. The second one would be marketing managers who can create executive ready visualizations in under 15 minutes versus their current 2+ hours will convert to paid users within their trial period. So this is assuming that we're going to do a sort of freemium approach to it.
And then we have the willingness to pay hypotheses. E-commerce owners currently spending $200+ a month on analytics tool will pay $99 a month for a solution that provides actionable insights 3x faster than the current workflow. And 50% of users who save 5+ hours per week on data analysis tasks will upgrade from a free trial to a paid plan within 30 days. So I got to say, these are better than what we came up with, but they also have some baked in assumptions. It gave us some well formulated hypotheses if you had a product that was live and had a lot of users and that you were able to run experiments on at scale. What I did was I used this prompt chain as a sounding board. I basically questioned first whether or not these really made sense for validating a product idea, period, with no basis. And then it gave me some more hypotheses that still had like 50% of users interviewed said this. And this is where, you know, there's some limitations to AI, and you really need to use your knowledge as a product manager. Like, what happens if 3 people tell me this is a really big problem for them? Does that mean that my thing is not valid? My idea is not valid?
Yeah.
So I questioned it yet again, and where I got to at the end was 6 hypotheses that I think are pretty good and where I think we could work from.
Sounds good. Now, You had mentioned a term that I'm not sure all of our audience knows, which is prompt chain. And by that, do you mean the thread of the conversation?
I do mean the thread of the conversation. Yeah. In a previous episode, we talked about when we talked about building agents. One of the things I mentioned is that there are a number of terms that get thrown around in the world of AI and agentic AI, and sometimes you can assume that they're more complicated than they really are. But prompt chain really just means that you're creating a thread of prompts where the output of the previous prompt becomes the input or the context for the next prompt.
Yep, that makes sense.
Let me tell you where we got to. All right, the improved hypothesis framework has in problem validation that in 20 customer interviews, at least 5 people will unpromptedly mention frustration or pain with data analysis.
Unpromptedly. Nice.
Yeah, I know. I love it. The second one, at least 3 people will say that they've spent money or significant time trying to solve this problem. The third one, at least 2 people will ask, when can I get this or how much will it cost during interviews? And we can probably quibble with the numbers, but I think those are good directional signals that this is a real problem, right? When you talk to users, they express real frustration or real pain with this problem. And they may have already tried to solve it themselves, going through significant time or with some costs associated.
Yep, that's a really good point and an important principle for any product management, which is if you were trying to solve a problem and you're trying to detect whether it's a problem worth solving and looking for evidence that your target customer has tried solving this in a meaningful way is a very good signal.
That's right. And then the next set of hypotheses are around market reality check. And these ones are, one, we can identify at least 3 existing paid solutions that people actually use for similar problems. At least one person we interview is currently paying for partial solutions to this problem. And we can find evidence, for example, job postings or forum posts, etc., that companies are hiring people specifically to handle this problem.
Yeah. Again, it's great to see these hypotheses expressed this way. It makes me think about the mom test. If anybody's ever read that book by Rob Fitzpatrick, it really emphasizes that when you're doing discovery, that there's this tendency where if you're talking about how cool your solution is, how great it is, people will just be nice and be like, yeah, that's a good idea. Sounds good. But that's not a signal whatsoever. The real signal is whether they're willing to put something at stake to use your solution.
Definitely. So given where we ended up with these this improved hypothesis framework from our friend Claude, how do you feel about where we ended up here with this improved hypothesis framework? Are you happy with this set of 6 hypotheses for us to test and validate?
I like where we landed. It's a significant improvement from where we were before. You're absolutely right that it had assumed that this was some product that might have already seen some product market fit. This is very early, and this is a lot more appropriate for early discovery. Like you said, some of the numbers I think we can discuss. But the hypotheses themselves and how they're phrased, I think that's really good. That's something that we can work with. Yeah.
And I think that's the takeaway here is that this process to get from our really poorly formulated hypotheses that we, jammed into a Google Doc to 6 definitely testable hypotheses took maybe 10, 20 minutes. And if you're a busy person and you have 100 things on your mind and you need to move on to the next thing, I think this really shows how you can use these tools as a sounding board, right? And this would be the first AI discovery tip. Use an LLM of your choice as a sounding board to get you to a place where you have real hypotheses that you can test and validate.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The taste, as you mentioned, I think in a previous episode, That was essential here in understanding what good looks like and what mediocre looks like, being able to make that distinction.
So what are we going to do from here? Let's give the audience a little bit of a preview of what they can expect coming into the next episode.
So I think the next step from here logically would be for us to go and execute on testing these hypotheses.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So that probably looks like a couple of different things given the hypotheses we have here. One is for us to talk to users, ideally record those conversations so that we can take the output and put it into a project. And then the second step is doing some market reality check, like it says here, looking at the fundamentals, what tools are out there, what are people talking about. And I think there we can really leverage AI tools.
All right, exciting. We're making progress step by step.
Step by step. All right, with that, thank you all for listening to this week's episode of Prompt and Circumstance.
All right, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can follow us on the socials at P&C Podcast. And we'll catch you next week.
Bye, everyone.